Hello, everyone. Good evening, morning, afternoon, from whichever part of the world you're joining us today. You would have attended various webinars on ITSM, I'm sure, but none like the one that you're going to attend today. This is going to be completely different, have a very different perspective. So yeah, we're really happy to put this together for you today. Thank you for joining us today, for listening about mentorship and Wolken's journey to excellence in ITSM via mentoring. So that is the part that we'll be focusing on. And the another great thing about this webinar is that this is our first webinar in collaboration with Pink Elephant. So thank you, Troy, for joining us. And it's going to be really amazing. Through this webinar, we aim to cover the following and much more. I've just listed down a few points for you all to give you a brief idea. So should you be goal or action driven? Are you growing but not at the pace that you should be? Why would that be, or why could that be? Have you recently bagged your first customer, but you don't know where to go from here, right? Or what is it that you can do to make it better for you? Are you a mentor to your team members, but are you a mentor to your team members, or are you just an ordinary manager who would just, take care of his basic activities? So these are some of the things that you will learn about along with, ITSM and a company's growth via mentorship. So that's what we aim to cover. And once again, I'd like to thank our speakers for the day. So we have Dr. Man Singh, we have Troy, and we have Rohan. I would quickly read out, about their great achievements before running into this webinar. So during this webinar, Dr. Vivek Mansingh, who's an author, a global leader, an entrepreneur, an innovator, and a public speaker, will discuss about his new book, Achieving Meaningful Success. This book contains strategies and lessons that will be invaluable for your entire life. It will help you define the person that you want to become. So you should really be excited about this session of, Dr. Vivek. I had the privilege to attend one, and still I'm super excited about listening him talk today. So yeah, and the next speaker for the day would be Troy DuMoulin. He's from Pink Elephant. So Troy is a leading IT governance and service management expert with over 20 years of experience in executive level IT management, training, and consulting. Troy is considered by many to be one of the world's foremost ITIL and ITSM experts. He recently worked on the ITIL 4 update as a member of the lead architect team. A frequent speaker at IT management events, Troy was recently named one of the top 25 influencers in tech support and service management by HDI. And the last speaker for today would be our very own Mr. Rohan Joshi. Rohan is the co-founder, CEO, and board member at Wolken Software. Rohan comes with 30 plus years of experience in the North America and Latin America geo in the IT industry. Rohan will talk about how Wolken has been able to succeed with the help of a mentor and his guidance, and how has that led to extreme growth for Wolken. So without any further ado, I would request Mr. Man Singh to take over from here and help us learn so much more about the book.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you to all the people who have joined on a Friday morning, I guess, for most people, if they are from Canada. Appreciate the time. On the screen, you are looking at the book cover, my recent book, which is called Achieving Meaningful Success, Unleash the Power of Me. The genesis of the book is very interesting, and I think you will enjoy knowing about it. Throughout my career, professional career, and I have had extensive career in Silicon Valley and in Bangalore, India. And I'm probably the only person who has worked with David Packard, Bill Hewlett, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, and John Chambers. And so I have had extensive, interesting, purposeful career. And during these 35 odd years, I have mentored a lot of people all over the world, not just in India or US, but Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, and so on. And so after I retired from Cisco, I gave myself a goal that I want to leave a legacy of being a mentor to 1 million people. Now, how do you mentor 1 million people? Up to now, I had mentored people face to face in most cases, or through Zoom and so on. So then the idea came that if I write a book and book acts as a mentor, then I can reach 1 million people. And also I will launch a website along the launch of the book, which will answer questions from people who have read the book. So that is the genesis of the book. And I am super excited to be in this journey to impact 1 million people of all ages. It is not just young people, it is for all ages. And important to know that I am going to talk about book, and you will say that I'm promoting the book. Let me tell you first that all 100% of my profits from the book will be donated to an eye hospital for eye care for the poor. So I'm not trying to benefit from the sale of the book, but my goal here is to impact few of the 1 million people. That is my goal to reach. So we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so what is meaningful success, first of all, right? I talk about it in the book quite a bit. So in the US, they studied seemingly success CEOs, government leaders, scientists, athletes, entertainers towards the end of their life, and asked them if they consider themselves successful. And to the surprise of many, many of them said no. Another data point I'll share with you is that Professor Clayton at Harvard University followed a batch of MBA students. On the 5th anniversary of their class graduation, or 5th alumni meet, everyone was doing great. Great spouses, great jobs, great houses, cars, etc. Everything was great. On the 10th reunion of the same batch, actually 1/3 of the people did not show up. And when he dug deeper, he found that many of them were having relationship, health, or other problems. On the 25th reunion of that batch, actually half the people did not show up, and many had serious relationship issues, other kind of problems, especially health related, and some of them even had gone to jail for unethical practices. So these are the smartest people in the world. What did they not know? And how could they go astray in such a way? That is what Professor Clayton studied. And that is what I have sort of also tried to portray in the book. So can we go to the next slide, please? So here is the reason why so many of them actually said that they do not consider themselves as successful. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this wheel of gold that I have presented in the book has two major elements. One is professional goals, where you will have education, career, financial goals, material goals, or whatever else you want to put there. It's really up to you. But the equally important are also well-being goals, where you have relationship, health, fun, spirituality, and giving back goals. So I'm not telling you which goals are important to you, you decide. But I'm telling you that what is very important is that sometimes we focus way too much on professional goals, and in this process we sacrifice the well-being goals. What is the point at 35 if somebody is dead with heart attack? No matter how successful that person is as a professional, there is no point. So I think that is the focus in the book. Meaningful success means that you achieve your professional goals along with the well-being goals. Let's go to the next slide, please. The next step is actually to capture your aspirations as goals. So this is not that easy. And this is the job of a mentor, to help you aspire big. And book is very important part in this case, because book is the mentor. So whether you look at Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and many of the other athletes from Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Clara Hughes, and many of these people, they aspire big. And it is not easy, but I think if with the help of a mentor, and in this case with the help of the book, it will help you aspire big. In the book, I say very openly that if you can't break the shackles and can't think big, think of as if God is standing in front of you and saying, ask. Now there are no constraints. God can give you pretty much whatever you want. What would you ask? That is the way to capture your aspirations. So capture your aspirations in a big way. Sometimes it is difficult to capture lifelong aspirations. In that case, you can capture your aspiration for 5 years, 10 years, and start your journey anyways. But important thing is that don't aspire only for professional goals, also aspire on the well-being goals. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, once you have captured your goals, whatever they are, however many they are, if you are new to this, you may pick 3 goals, you may pick 5 goals, you may pick 10 goals, whatever you decide. Then I think the key is to actually follow with a lot of passion, almost obsession. You need to be obsessed with your goals. If your goals are not exciting enough, you will actually not be so passionate about it. So that is why it is also important that you aspire big. Passion has a science to it, actually. Once a part of our human brain works on logic and part of the brain works on emotion. The emotion that can charge the other part of the brain, and I describe it in the book as a chapter, the emotion that actually charges the other side of the brain is passion. So that is why you will see, and I have worked with many, many successful people, one common ingredient for all of them is they are very passionate about what they want to achieve. So passion has an amazing science, which I have explained in the book. And once you are passionate about your goals, universe supports your goals. The whole universe comes and supports you. You will surprise yourself. You wanted to meet somebody, let's say Bill Gates or someone you wanted to meet. You may suddenly see that the person comes and sits next to you in the plane. This is not an accident. This is where universe is helping you, provided you actually have big aspirational goals and you passionately want to achieve them. So passion is very important question that you should not miss. Can we go to the next, please? Next slide, please. Yeah. Now the next step is, aspiring is the first half of the game. The next is you have to become the best version of yourself. This is equally important. You have certain amount of potential. You have to become the best version of yourself. So that is the next part. And after working with so many people, I have found that there are 3 pillars to becoming the best version of yourself. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the first one which I very much like is strive for excellence, right? All of us, we will all not become a Steve Jobs, but at least we can realize our potential, and in our core competency, in the things that we like, we should actually try to strive for excellence. And let me explain the power of passion here. There is a 10,000 hour rule that I'm sure you have read, you are aware of it, that you have to work for 10,000 hours in one domain, in one area, to develop certain level of excellence. That is actually 7 years of working life, right? Now, if you are passionate about your area, if you are passionate about your goals, which are in the similar area, you will be thinking about it 24/7, either consciously or unconsciously. And that, if you do, there are many, many athletes, for example, who have given examples that when they got up at midnight to go to bathroom, they actually practice their baseball stroke, or they practice something in their core competence. If you do that, then literally you are working 24/7 on that core competence, and then you complete your 10,000 hours in 450 days. That is 1.5 years. So in 3 or 5 years, you have accumulated almost 20 years worth of experience. And that is how you achieve excellence. And that is when you get surprised that an 18-year-old did PhD in so and so, or a 12-year-old became a grandmaster of chess. That is what they have done. They have achieved excellence by passionately following their goal, and they have achieved 20-year worth of experience at a very, very young age. So strive for excellence. We all don't have to become grandmaster. We all don't have to become Steve Jobs, but at least we have to become the best we can in the core competencies that we want to pursue. So strive for excellence. All of that I have described in the book. How do you do that, and so on. I'm not going to go here in the details, but at least, so first one is strive for excellence. Can we go to the next slide, please? The second is think outside the box. And again, innovation is very, very important. Now, innovation, you will notice there is a no way as part of innovation. Innovation has no way built into it. When you say no way to the obvious solution, the second option is actually innovation. And so I have always practiced it in my professional life. I ask people to come up with 2 ideas, not one. Always come up with 2 ideas, and then helping them think differently and think for another possible solution to the problem. And so that is how you learn thinking outside the box. It is very, very important skill, no matter who you are. People think innovation is about engineering and so on. Not really. If you are an accountant, you can actually find a better way of managing your finances, or better way of managing your spreadsheet or tools and so on. You could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, you can actually learn a better way to do a surgery and so on. So no matter at what level you are, and no matter in what profession you are, you need to think outside the box. And I strongly believe this is a skill that can be learned from everyone. We all will not become Einstein, but we will become someone who can think outside the box. Extremely important pillar of strength for people. Go to next, please. The third pillar is obviously very well known leadership skills. And the only thing I want to sort of clarify here is that every person has to become a leader. Even if you are an individual contributor, you have to become a leader. Why? Because what do leaders have? They have clear vision. They have ability to be liked, respected, trusted. They develop knowledge and skills and deliver results. We all have to do that. And so developing leadership skills are important. Again, in the book, I have dedicated 1 chapter to that in a simple way. There are gazillion leadership books that you can read, and many, many courses you can do, but it's important to actually develop leadership to the best of your ability. Let's go next. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm trying to tell you. And many times people think that, it is, some people are lucky and they get success and so on. Not true. I'll just tell you my story. I was 30-year-old. I did my PhD, by the way, from Queens in Canada. For all the people who are in Canada, I did my PhD from Queens. After that, I went to Silicon Valley, and I was working for Hewlett Packard. I had a wife and a young child. I was the only earner in the family. I didn't have green card, and I didn't have any family money. 30 years old. I gave myself a goal that at the age 40, I want to become financially independent so that I can pursue whatever I want after that. Now, this is a goal, and I have no idea how I will achieve it. I just gave myself a goal and decided the criteria for being financially independent. Now, I started thinking, what can I do? I couldn't leave my HP job. I couldn't do a startup. I had no money. I was surrounded by constraints. But still, slowly, I became so passionate about this idea that actually solutions started coming. And one idea came that if I could invent an instrument and license it to a company, then I can become financially independent. And I will do that on weekends and evenings, and I will not do that in the area where I'm working in Hewlett Packard. So now it becomes a possible solution out of nowhere. And I was so passionate, I would have a hard time sleeping many times. I'll get ideas at night and I will not go to sleep uh, for the fear of forgetting those ideas. Right? So my wife said, why don't you keep a pencil and a paper and write these ideas so you can go to sleep and next day you can pursue it. That is what passion means. When you are passionate about something, you need to actually be that excited, that obsessed. Now, to cut the story short, within a year and a half, I actually had the instrument that you see in the picture. And I licensed it to a Boston company, and I was on my way to become financially independent. Now, here is a story how powerful it is to have aspirational goal and then work your tails off to actually become worthy of that aspiration. And this is just one example. In the book, I describe many examples from my life where I have given goals which I had no clue how to achieve it, but then went on and got it. And including the goal we talked about, impacting 1 million people through this book. I have no idea, but I'm working my tails off to make that happen. And I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to do that in next couple of years. So here is an example and a story from my own life that shows the power of aspiration, power of goals, power of having passion, power of innovation, and power of excellence in your core competence. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now come the other part of well-being goals, right? So I'm not going to spend time here. There's chapter for every one of these in the book. Relationships are the most important assets we have. I keep telling people that you can be replaced at work, which we love so much, at the blink of an eye. All of us can. Nobody is really so indispensable. Your friends can move on, but you are at the center of your family. So pay attention to that. Be the best you can be, whether husband, wife, daughter, father, whoever, right? And another favorite quote of mine is, be what you want your children to be. So, walk the talk and make sure that children are seeing, they see, they don't listen. Actually, we keep telling them do this, do that, but we ourselves don't follow. That doesn't work. So be what you want your children to be. So relationships are most important assets we have. I don't want to spend more time here, but it's very important. Let's go to the next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Then mind, body, and soul. Again, there's full chapter that is dedicated to that. And all I can say here is take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live in. If we don't take care of it, then who else will? And obviously, all of these are important and described in the book in a nice way of something that you can pursue pretty much what way you want, the way you want. Let's go to the next slide, please. Giving back is another important one, right? I say to move forward, you have to give back. And giving back is very powerful and is very, very important, right? It helps us stay grounded in our journey as we pursue meaningful success. No matter what level of success we want, I think we can give back in small or big way. And it doesn't have to be money all the time. It can be time, it can be in any form. Now, let me give you an example. Many people think that I'll give back when I have a lot, when all my responsibilities are over. That is actually not the way to think about giving back. And let me take a story. In the book, by the way, I'm just digressing for 20 seconds. In chapter 12 of the book, I have interviewed 11 people who I admire. These are people like Ratan Tata, prominent business leader in India, Narayan Murthy, founder of Infosys, John Chambers, and many, many other players. And the purpose of interview is to make sure that they also sort of underline the messages that I have shared in the book, and they agree that this is the right thing to follow. So one of them is Narayan Murthy, who is founder of Infosys, very grounded person. I was interviewing him for the book. And by the way, these interviews you can also see if you go to my website, vivekmansingh.com, all described in the book. So I was talking to Mr. Murthy about the giving back. And I said, one problem I see in many people is they think they will give back when they have all their responsibilities covered. And he gave me an example from his life, which will be a great inspiration for all of us. He said that his father was a school teacher, mother was a homemaker. He had 8 brothers and sisters, so 10 mouths to feed on the salary of a school teacher. Yet his mother invited one less fortunate person from their village every day to eat with them. This is giving back. Share whatever you have. And I'm not sure if there is a direct link to what it comes back with, but look at what Mr. Murthy has been able to do. Billionaire, created 500,000 jobs in India, created one of the global companies in the world, and so on. So giving back with whatever you have. If you can't give money, teach a less fortunate person's son or daughter, and so on. Give whatever you can. So giving back is very important, and it affects all your other goals. Let's go to next, please. Now, there are 4 enablers that will actually help you in this journey. These are inspirers, role models, mentors, and books. And I'm just going to talk 20 seconds each about each. Inspirers could be people who inspire you, the Michael Dell, John Chambers. Many of these people have inspired me. And these are inspirers. You don't have to be like them, but you can learn 1 or 2 things from them. Role models are people who you would like to become like. You know, you want them to, your journey to actually end at your role models level. Successful people from your profession, your CEO, your parents, uncles, aunts, wherever you can find. But role models are important to have because they give very clear signals to your brain that this is actually what you want. This is your destination. Today, we go 15 minutes away for picking up something from a shop, and we start with Google Map. And Google Map works when you enter a destination. It doesn't work without it. So for 15 minutes, we have to enter a destination, and for life, many times we don't have a destination. So it's important to have role models. Mentors obviously are very important. This book is about mentoring, and we are going to talk about mentoring as for startups and businesses as well in a minute or so. Who are mentors? Right mentors for you. Mentors are successful, knowledgeable, compassionate people. Last part is most important, who ideally have been there, done that in the path that you want to take. So if you are a lawyer, you don't want to have a doctor as your mentor, even if that doctor is very successful. You wouldn't hire a tennis coach to teach you baseball, would you? This is why it is very important to actually have a mentor who has been there, done that, because their insights can help you save a lot of time. And books are amazing mentors, right? So I have always said that you read 50 books in your professional area and propel yourself to the next orbit. And in today's environment, these have become even more important because everything is changing so fast that whatever I studied 5 or 10 years back is now not really relevant. So these are the 4 enablers that we need to take advantage of. Let's go next, please. Now, mentoring works for companies as well. And I'm transitioning to, if you want to call it from B to C to B to B model here. And first B stands for book, not business, but book to customers or book to business now. So here is an example for a Canadian company, actually. I am on the board of this company called Innovatia, which is in St. John, New Brunswick. I joined their board maybe about 5-6 years back. Now, the first trip that I did to them, for first 3 days, I was just observing and talking to lots and lots of people. After 3 days, I sat down with COO and CEO, wonderful people, Dave and Roxanne, and they said, what are my recommendations? And this company is into knowledge management. They have a large service element, but they were also working on 8 or 9 products. And I told them that my take is that I will kill 8 of the products, 8 of the 9 products, and move all the resources in the 9th one that I am recommending you. It was pretty harsh feedback, to be very honest, but I was very serious about it. And they listened, they understood my logic, why I was saying that, and so on. We had a couple of days of deep discussions, but to cut the story short, that is what they did. And I'm happy to tell you that just a week or 2 weeks back, just that part of the product is sold for more than the total value of the company just 2 weeks back. So point is, one, mentoring can do magic for even startups and businesses, at least small businesses. The big businesses paid for McKinsey and Bain to do their mentoring, or at least they think they're doing the mentoring. But small business and startups can get big benefit from mentoring as well. With that, it leads me to a story of Wolken. I will go there, but I'll go to Troy first. Let me just say, next slide, please. I just want to close with this quote of mine, which is, and this is a very powerful quote, I like it very much. Future should not be decided by extrapolation of your past, but it should be driven by aspirations of the future. So no matter at what stage in life you are, I saw a comment earlier that especially after 50, whether you are 50 or 60 or 65 like me, I have changed and reinvented my career so many times. And now at 65, I have given my goals, which, just to prove my point, let me share that with you. My goal, number one, is to create 3 to 5 unicorns from India in deep product and technology space. Unicorn is more than $1 billion company. And I'm hoping that Rohan will help me achieve at least one of those goals, become one of those companies that becomes a unicorn. But at 65, 3 to 5 unicorns, mentor 1 million people, and I have many other goals, right? So at any point, and it's completely disconnected from my past. I was head of Cisco and Dell in India, and I've done entrepreneurship and startup, but this is completely disconnected. It is driven by future aspirations, not what I have done in the past. And I encourage all of you to think that way, do bigger and better things in life by following the methodology described in the book. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mensing.
Yes.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Akriti. Akriti, do you want to tell people that they can submit questions while Troy is talking to me? Yeah,
yes,
perfect.
Yes, I missed saying that. So we have the Q&A box. If you see on the footer of the screen, please feel free to drop your questions or any point that you want to discuss anytime during the session, and we will take it up at the end of the session. Thank you. Over to you, Troy.
Thank you, Kriti. Dr. Mensing, first I want to thank you for the opportunity to have read your book, which is an opportunity I take very seriously, because one of the enablers we're going to talk about are books, and I strongly believe in this. And some of the meaningful messages of your book I want to relate to and connect to. Personally, I get an opportunity to speak to many organizations and individuals. Commitment to self-development, lifelong learning. These are aspirations at Pink Elephant we hold on to very dearly. In fact, it's not just about learning, it's about what we do with this information. This aligns with our vision statement, knowledge translated into results, something that's come from this information. So the question of, so what? And I love the quote that's in front of us now, because as I teach lean and lean thinking, and there's always a destination. To know how to act, to align short-term goals with long-term strategy or objectives is critical, because movement in its own right is not virtuous. we have to move towards an intended direction, a place of intended desired being. There's a quote I love by a gentleman by the name of Andy Stanley. He says, everyone ends up somewhere. Some people get there on purpose.
Lovely.
Right? This means that there's a destination in my Google Maps. And what I like about your book specifically is the holistic nature of it. And it's got a structure that I really enjoy as well. And I'll start with a quote again that I enjoyed from your book, was that life is more than just mere existence. Life must have some greater purpose behind it, this destination. And that destination hopefully isn't simply our own best in respect to our own focus, but this holistic set of balanced goals we're going to talk about, not just narrow goals. And I want to unpack that and ask you a question. So the structure, you say, there has to be a greater purpose, this greater meaning, this destination. And then you also have a quote that says, before we begin, we must first define who we aspire and desire to be. And that speaks to me of values. And then you move into setting goals based on your wheel of goals. And ultimately we get into passion. I want to unpack that question of how does first defining who you aspire to be, kind of fits into your quote here, actually then direct your goals and also possibly put safeguards around your passion, because passion without a moral, ethical framework can be difficult.
Very good question, Troy, and you could apply that to Hitler and many other people. There are even people now who you can apply to in the current situation. So yes, in one of the chapters, I talk about living with values. I think that is also very important. So your aspirational goals have to clear the filter of living with values that are dear to you. If you do that, and if you balance your goals the way we talked about, very little chance of going astray there. You will have meaningful goals for yourself, and both for your professional side and for your well-being side. You will be within the value framework, and then I don't think it's easy to go astray there. If you do that, you should be in the right path. And also, yes, you are absolutely right. If you are very passionate about some wrong goal, that can be disastrous for yourself and the world. You can become unethical. I gave example of those Harvard MBA batch of people where several people ended up in jail. I mean, these people were doing well to begin with. Why did they have to sort of do stupid things? But people do. So living with values is very important, which should define the framework for the goals that you select. And aspiration should be optimistic nature of that. And if you do that, I think you are on the right path, Troy.
So the mentor conversation we're going to have is really important here, because mentors help you define, or at least understand, your values. Eitel describes the 9 guiding principles, which are shared values. Everyone has values. The question is, do we share them, right? Mother Teresa, the bank robber, they both have values. It's about aligned values, that are shared. And when we share values, now we have first principles, and first principles allow us to have this guiding light, this true north, this end state direction we want to go. Because movement alone without destination, not necessarily valuable. And of course, I like the concept of this balanced set of goals. Again, it's a concept that you unpack here. It's one that I've talked about before, but I want to kind of pose an interesting question to you. You represent the goals in a fully circular kind of view. But in my mind, and I ask you about this, is there any kind of hierarchy of goals? Are they fully balanced, or are there goals which take precedent or in ascendancy of other goals?
Excellent question, Troy. What I have seen in my own life, and I have also described that in the book, that different goals will take precedence in different times in your life. Different things. Life will challenge you no matter where you are hiding, and you have to have the right priority at the right time. Sometimes profession will take priority, sometimes relationship might take priority, sometimes health might take priority, and so on. So there's hierarchy at one instant of time, Troy, but as things move, the hierarchy may change and different goals may take priority in different times. And I have given several examples from my book where it will be very clear that I gave up all my professional achievements and everything and moved to India to take care of my parents, which was more important to me at that time than anything else, money or my company or anything else. And so life will challenge you, and you need to, if you are driven by right values, you will be able to manage the priorities well. And hierarchy at that instance will maybe completely different than hierarchy 1 year back or longer.
So I want to speak into that narrative, because it's interesting, because we talk about a goal-driven life that's oriented around a specific set of values, who we aspire to be, this transcendental greater meaning or purpose. All of this is the structure you represent in your book, which is very important. because we really have as human beings really just three dimensions by which we make life decisions. One is by a definition of our true north based on this aspired state. And if that isn't the case, then there's only two other dimensions. One could be just the pressure of the moment, right? We get driven by the wind of the pressure of the moment. And perhaps we're not that type of person. But the third dimension would be then self-interest. Now, the problem with that, of course, might be self-evident in the long term. Now, admittedly, there are points in life where, yes, we have those long-term goals. There is the pressure of the moment. There is the self-interest, preservation. And we may have to make choices along those three dimensions by normal. But the question really becomes, how do you wish to live your life in general? What is the guiding structure? Because blown with the wind, we never end up anywhere. Yeah. Not to your definition right here of aspired future. That's just being reactive to the moment. But if we take self-interest far and too far, we could justify genocide. Yeah. So without connecting our actions and our passion to this greater aspirational goal, hopefully beyond just our personal benefit, and we'll talk about giving back in a second, this is going to be a major issue. Let's talk about giving back, one of your key messages. Again, having a goal beyond ourselves. So the bottom line, of course, is, and this comes in, I'm sure, as you mentor organizations, shareholder value and optimizing profit. These are very, very, of course, interesting goals for people who put a lot of money on the table, like a venture capitalist. But a lot of talk now is about the triple bottom line. Yes, economic, commercial success. We have to be viable as an organization. But then there's the concept of community. Are we building into community? And then there's environment. Are we considering environment? Because if we don't focus on the triple bottom line, what world do we leave our children? Absolutely. Right? By maximizing profit for ourselves. And what I've observed, because I'm also a member of charitable organizations on boards, is that volunteerism right now is at an all-time low. We've just spent 2 years in survival mode, Hertzberg motivators here, where we're focusing on self, focusing on survival, and just basically getting through the 2 years. And now we're re-emerging, and volunteerism is extremely low, and we've almost lost the sense of greater than us, the sense of community. Can you speak to that in your work with organizations as a venture angel investor?
Yeah, I think this triple bottom line concept is catching on, and it absolutely must. And actually, I'm very encouraged by the young generation. My own son, for example, he is working for social finance, although he got a job at Google also. And as you can see, social finance is in impact investing area and has a double bottom line, if not triple bottom line. And he has chosen to do that at half the salary of Google. So I am very, very, very excited about the young generation putting the right values in making their career choices. And it is very important that we do triple bottom lines. Now, what we do in terms of venture capital now, which is my career now, even in startups, we are actually asking these questions: ESG, environment, other things. Lots of these things have made their way into the matrix of how we evaluate startups to invest in. So in summary, all I will say is that, in my opinion, all organizations, profit, non-profit, multinationals or national, they should all be driven by triple bottom lines.
Last question. I want to talk about your enablers. And I'm reflecting on the four enablers, and mentoring is so important. And your goal to mentor 1 million, it's a very, very valuable, noble goal. And I came to reflect when I was reading that part of your book that currently, well, first of all, I've had mentors in my life, my father being one. He's passed, and I miss him greatly in that role. And I've had the opportunity to mentor others, but right now I'm not in a position where I have one. And that's actually a personal point of reflection and thought provoke that I'm going through right now. What would you suggest to folks? Because finding a good mentor is difficult, especially one that's willing to invest into your life on this more holistic model. What would you suggest if a person doesn't have one right now and it's not easy to get one? What would be some suggestions there relative to the enablers you're focusing on?
So multiple suggestions here. First, I think, like I said, I think pick up my book. It will guide you to at least 4 or 5 steps that you can take yourself in terms of a mentor. Secondly, first, decide your aspirational goals. Then decide the mentor, because like I said earlier, mentor should have been there, done that in the path that you are choosing to go after. While you are looking for a mentor in that path, books can be your tremendous mentors. Books or podcasts or TED Talks and things like that, they can act as your mentor in a big way. But finding a final mentor is actually not as difficult, Troy, as people think it is. It's in Indian mythology, they say Guru arrives when you are ready. Mentor arrives when you are ready. The problem is we are not ready in many cases. We don't have urge to get a mentor, which may even apply to you, but I do not know the answer. So I think first, decide your aspirational goal, be absolutely obsessed with those goals, and then start taking some actions in that path yourself. And then you will see that the mentor arrives. For example, let me give you, if you want to be a leading, in artificial intelligence, you want to be a leading person, or let me give you, example from my own life. So after my PhD and after my work at Hewlett Packard and after I achieved my financial goals, I gave myself a goal that I wanted to be number one in my field. Now, I had no clue how to become that. But then I said, okay, who is the current number one in my field? My field was electronic schooling. That is what gave me a chance to work with Steve Jobs and other people. So here is the goal. I want to be number one in my field. Now, you obviously know who is the number one in the field. And this was Professor Avram Bar-Cohen from University of Minnesota. He had written a book. He was consultant. He was poster person for our field. So I just read everything that I could about him. And he became my inspirer first. And then after that, he became my role model. I wanted to be like him. Then he became my mentor because I also started publishing papers and so on. And then he became a colleague because in many conferences, we presented the paper together. So here is an example. If you have the destination, now, if I don't set the destination that I want to be number one in this area, how do I find who is the number one then? Who can inspire me? Who can be my role model? Who can mentor me? So here is an example. I think if you do it this way, you will figure it out. But I strongly again urge you to read the book because it gives you lots of ways to decide some of these things that are sometimes complicated, and then they almost ensure that you remain where you are.
The guru will come when you're ready. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Mensing.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Troy. Thank you, Dr. Mansingh. Thought-provoking questions and some wonderful answers here. Thank you once again. I would request Rohan to please begin with his session.
Thanks. It's been a fascinating 45 minutes, and I just wish it wouldn't end, actually. The guru for me arrived at a destination wedding in Rajasthan, which is where I met Vivek. We were meandering around, and then we both sat down. This was at a destination wedding, mind you. It was at an old palace. So we sat down and we talked, and I think we instantly kind of connected. So that's something, what he said, when you're ready, the guru arrives. That's essentially what happened. Till that point in time, Wolken was doing okay. We were serendipitously, we had a few customers. I think the quote that Troy gave about how one acquires clients, or one acquires, the end point via purpose as opposed to serendipity, actually is a Wolken story. So when Sudhir and I started Wolken about 11 years ago now, we had an idea of what we wanted to do. And it took us about 2 or 3 years to make our first product. And we also had clients for that product. But then we realized, and one of the few points that Vivek told us in our early years of existence, he said, kindly look at a market which is large in size. You can move the slide further. So, kindly look at a market which is large in size. Don't look at something which has got a finite number to it. Look at a global market. Don't look at a regional or a national market. He also said, you need to invest in two areas. One is product management, and the second is user experience. He said, user experience is what's going to get you the stickiness in your customers. And much to the credit of Sudhir and our product folks, we actually focused on the 3 or 4 things that Vivek told us in his wisdom. That is, look at a global market, look at something which has, a large set and not a subset of something. It's the universe should be fairly large in the area that you're operating. Third is focus on user experience. And fifth, look at how your customers will look at your product. So these are some of the areas that we focused on. So product management was something that we paid attention to. And essentially we came up with, a pink certified ITIL product. I was talking to Troy before we had this conversation, and we've spoken a couple of times before. And I did tell him that the impact that mentoring has had on us is quite immense. And it's also the fact that both Sudhir and I were prepared for it. And we actually utilized whatever was given as inputs into the product architecture. And kudos to again our product folks to make a world-class product which has been proven over and over again. I normally don't like to boast, but recently one of our customers has given us an outstanding vendor award. And that's something which we are extremely proud of, because we replaced an incumbent who is a very big daddy in our field. So that's something that we are proud of and we've done. Can we move to the next slide, please? So essentially, what we have been certified in the past has been on the key aspects of the ITILs. I think Troy mentioned about the 9 elements, and those are the 9 elements that we did focus on from first principles when we built the product. But it's the external influences that actually made the product what it is today, that it's really certified, compliant, and ready to hit the market. Some of the clients are mentioned over here, but again, the story today is not a plug for Wolken, but it's a talk about how mentorship has actually helped us build a better product and build a better platform from which we can operate on. So that's all that I wanted to say, because the outside discussions and the Q&A will be more fascinating than me talking about Wolken, which I can do ad nauseum. So Troy and Akriti, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rohan. Troy, you wanted to discuss about mentorship and how has that benefited with Rohan. So if you have any questions, we can take that before taking the external questions.
So Rohan, you mentioned a story to me, how you began this journey as part of an integration type of role, and how that you moved in expanse from integration services to to moving into ITSM, and then seeing that even move into a non-unique IT context. And these practices of these service management practices apply to any service organization. And the focus really is, how are we helping to get our customers' job done? And it really comes back to the product and user experience. What kind of mentoring or mentorship did you receive to kind of support you in that journey? And have you been a mentor in respect to the customers that you're engaged with as you saw the evolution of your product from various markets to another?
So initially, our customers used to say, meet it or beat it. So this is what we have today. And since you're coming in to replace the incumbent, you have to meet it or beat it. So meet it was out of the question for us. We had to beat it. So all the focus that we decided, and again, here's where my co-founder comes in. So what he decided to do was to focus on product management and user experience. And he built a team which embodies that. And these guys get a very harsh lesson at every QBR, at every quarterly business review. So we may think we have a global world-class product, but it's the QBRs that determine where we are on the product roadmap. And it's heartening to say that, if we achieve on a scale of 5, anything beyond 4.5, for us, that shows a sign of relentless growth. And that's something which our customer success team, our product management team, our user experience team, they work towards striving to ensure that the customer satisfaction ratings at every QBR is above a certain benchmark. And it's always, it's their objective today to ensure that they are on an upward path. Of course, we do try a lot of things which takes us back one quarter, but lessons learned, we just move relentlessly upwards. And it's all about the two things that you see there on the screen. One is, how do you relentlessly improve on user experience? And how do you ensure product management is a global standard, it's world-class? That's something which our customers actually challenge us. And that's where the service management aspect comes in to ensure that the product grows, grows and grows. That's what I wanted to say.
One last concept here to think about as you describe this. It reminds me of our conversation before the webinar. Having 20 years in the experience mentoring a lot of software companies through the ITSM journey, I've actually worked with many in their emergence and disruption and seen the waves or different phases of different organizations' entropy growth. I'm not naming names, but every time what happens is an organization rises to prominence as the primary brand because they have a desire to help their customers get their jobs done, and they're flexible and they're innovative and they're willing to co-create value with their customer. But over time, as that market expands and now the dollar signs become the looming thing in their eyes, they become arrogant. They have a hubris that makes it more difficult for them to gain the trust, and they start to lose customers, not because of the product, but because of who the organization is and how they relate to their customer experience. And it happens over and over again. And it's happening again as you disrupt the market with focusing on just user experience and helping to get customers done.
Absolutely.
And I've had that opportunity to mentor organizations through their early growth, but they usually drop their mentor when they believe they've arrived.
That's right.
That happens for individuals as well. People think that they have arrived, they don't need mentors, and that's not true.
Very true. And Troy, I think you did touch upon the triple bottom line. And that's something which is kind of, let's say, the benchmark for Wolken. It's, of course, the dollars are important because the dollar is what drives the innovation and it drives the future. But it's also the impact that we are leaving behind, the ESG compliances, all of that matters quite a lot to us. And I think we've been doing that diligently. And we've also started keeping a scorecard for where we are and how far we are from established norms and standards of things like PSC 40 or PSC 50 compliance standards. So that's so I think we would now like to turn it over to the question and answer board, because I believe there are a few questions for Vivek and
Yeah,
Troy
and
here.
I see that we have only a couple of minutes left. Actually, we have exceeded the time.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so Akriti, do you want me
Yeah.
to take a rapid answer to all of these in just next 2
Yes.
minutes?
Yes, sure, sir. So I see there are some questions for you and a couple of questions for Rohan as well. So whatever you want, you can please pick up and we can answer.
Let me take the one that are showing up on mine very,
Sure.
very quickly. These will not be elaborate answers, people, but I'll give it to you in 20 seconds or less. How can we adopt mentoring in daily life? You don't have to talk to your mentor daily. You need to talk to mentor maybe once in a month, maybe once in 6 months, and set your goals and any advice that you need. But you have to act on that advice literally every day. So while Rohan and Sudhir are giving me credit for being a good mentor, let me tell you, they are good mentees. They listen to me. If they don't listen to me, my advice is not really of any value. So you have to act on the advice of mentor on a daily basis, but you need to interact with mentor at a frequency that is convenient to both of you. It could be once a month or it could be once in 6 months. Question number 2, wanted to ask, if we integrate our professional and personal goals together, is it advisable to do so? It is not advisable. There is no other choice. You cannot postpone your health related goals to the age of 60, So I think there is no choice. You have your little boy or girl who needs your time. She or he needs it then, not 10 years later. So there is no choice. Other question here. What are the best ways for startups to identify mentors during their formative years? First of all, whether formative or later years, you need mentor throughout. Number 2, you can have multiple mentors for for individuals as well as for companies for different things. So once you know what help you need, you will be able to nail down a mentor. The most important thing is to know what you know and also know what you don't know. And when you know what you don't know, you will know what mentor to get to. So I think that is that question. How can we adopt mentoring in daily life? I've already answered that. What do you recommend to overcome fear of failure and how we can identify that? So in short, let me tell you, failure is not opposite of success. Failure is part of success. No one I know in the world who has succeeded in everything that they wanted to do. They had their share of failures, they had their shares of success. They kept on trying and pursuing their dreams, and ultimately they succeeded. So it should not be, you should not feel fear of failure. You should actually pursue your goals relentlessly. Rohan, question for you. So I'm just going to read it. Maybe you can take it. How has mentoring benefited in pivoting your ITSM product over time?
Actually, it's made it robust, stronger. It's made it more relevant. It's actually brought it up to a world-class level. And I can go on. I mean, the product has strengthened beyond what it was. In fact, I'm not that close to the ITSM product as Sudhir is, but it's very interesting whenever I see a demo after every, say, 2 months or 3 months, I say, wow, is that our product? So that's the wow factor that I get. Actually, whilst it's incremental, once you see it after a gap of 2 months, you really see the impact that the product has on an organization. Be it, again, the user experience way, or be it the strength of the feature functionality. That's something which, and how do you know that it is strong? Because either in an RFP or when a client asks you a question, you can answer it without batting an eyelid. There is no, let's say, alternative methodology that you suggest. So 9 out of 10 questions or doubts that a client has can be answered straight off the bat. And that shows that the feature functionality of the product is pretty strong. Because again, mind you, he's benchmarking against what he or she already has.
Absolutely.
And that's, the world-class one.
I can
So
also
what's in-
add to, sorry,
Yes,
go ahead, Rohan.
sure. No, please go ahead. Please go
No,
ahead.
I just wanted to let people know that actually, in addition to what Rohan described as benefit of mentoring, as a mentor, I see, and we meet like every few months, at least, if not more, I see the mindset change completely in them, other than doing the product and the specification and the product management and user experience, but their mindset has changed. They are now, after creating a massive enterprise in this space, throwing the big daddies out of the water. All this is big aspiration and big thinking. That was probably not as well articulated before I joined in. So these are the things you will see. Some you will be able to put hands on, some you will see a mindset change, but every one of these leads you to success. So with that, I think we should probably stop. We have exceeded our time. Akriti, I'll let you decide.
Sure. I just see 2 questions in the chat box, which are really interesting. So if you want to take that, we can take that. Otherwise, we can also.
I'll take the last one. What's in store for Wolken at the ITSM space? I think the entire theme today is be the best what you can be. And that's essentially what we want to aspire for, is to be the best ITSM product going around.
Absolutely. And the other question is, what does it take for a manager to mentor, become a mentor to their team? I think it's an excellent question. And frankly, again, there is no choice. As a manager, one of the roles you have to play is that of a mentor. You will earn respect from your team only when you take care of their needs, help them succeed. Actually, as a manager, your only role is to help your team succeed, help every member of your team succeed, which requires some certain level of mentoring. So incorporate it in your managership, and I'm sure you will do well, both as a mentor and as a manager.
I'm going to quote you, Vivek. Be the leader you want your people to be.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Troy. I think we have exceeded time. So thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Akriti, for putting this wonderful session together. And thanks to all the participants who joined. And hopefully this was beneficial to them. Akriti, you close it.
Thank you so much, sir, for helping me close already. Brilliant session. Very, very informative, I would say. I'm sure, all our attendees would have taken something really great with them today. So great conversations. I think we learned about ITSM, about the great book. I've read the book, so I personally took a lot away from that. About Wolken, about ITSM. I think it was just a brilliant session. So thank you so much, all these speakers, for the great insights. And thank you so much, all the attendees, for being here today. And we'll be back with another informative webinar for you very soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Akriti, just I want to tell one suggestion to people. You are welcome to join my social media. I'm in all social media because I mentor through that all the time. So you are welcome to join that. Thank you so much, Akriti. Thank you, everyone else. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Vivek. Thanks to the participants. Bye. Bye.